Right. Awesome. All right, everyone, we're going to be starting the meeting. So, excuse me. Awesome. Thank you all for coming out today. This is one of two meetings. So we split it up by kind of section. So this is the southern half, obviously today, and then January 22nd at Dunbar High School, we'll have a second meeting for the northern section. So if you have further questions, comments, just want to see the presentation again, always welcome. Thank you for Living Classrooms for sponsoring us. And if you guys want to take a plug real quick at all, or
I'm Dr. Miller, but I'm the principal of the school executive director for Living Classrooms. This is our school campus tour of the day. We are looking to expand too, so keep an eye out here in the area, in the neighborhood, especially. But in the next 2 to 5 years, right now we're 6th, 7th, 8th grade. We are looking to move to an 8th grade, and we can do that on the same campus. So this building will come down. It's a little bit bigger right here, but this whole thing is on campus here every single day. We follow our kids if you're around here. Please let me know. Stop by anything. Pretty you're around. Easy questions.
Yeah, no, thank you again for opening up to us, and it's a great place. I'm really happy to be presenting here. All right, with that said, this is the Central Ave Bike Lane Extension and Road Diet. Again, this is a bi-directional project, so we have a south section going from Fleet at the existing facility to Dock Street, and then north going from about Lombard, right? It has kind of this weird cross at Watson and Lombard to Monument Street. Ooh, okay, a little lag here. Okay, so just agenda, right? We're going to go over the purpose of this project, the background behind it. We'll go over the current conditions that we, BC DOT, are looking at on the roadway, the design concepts that we've come up with are really concept, and then we'll go for a question and answer. So, right, general purpose of this project is just to improve some traffic calming and multimodal transportation improvements along Central Ave. So, right, this expands upon the existing design that provides traffic calming and then also increases access to the micromobility network throughout Baltimore. Just to nail this really in the head, bi-directional project. So again, we're at the south side right here, going from Fleet to Dock. There's going to be a north side going from Lombard to Monument, and then existing facility right between those two at Fleet to Lombard. Going more into, again, high level, why are we coming in with this, right? These facilities focus on road safety and multimodal access. So, right, it's for people of all ages and abilities and mode types on the roadway, and right, can really help increase the connection with those who walk, run, scoot, bike, or take any form of micromobility. And, right, it's a bike lane, but again, you can use these for things. We see people use them for ADA access. We see people put strollers in them. So they serve a multitude of purposes to connect community. Looking at the safety side of this, so right, this is some data from Central Ave, right? We've seen throughout the city that we call these complete streets treatments, right? It's not always just a bike lane or something, but in general, right, these treatments increase safety compared to citywide statistics. So looking at Central Ave, what we have so far, right, this is still a new facility. We're gathering data, but what we've seen since installation is a 48% reduction in total crashes and a 20% reduction in non-motorist crashes. And this is compared to pre-construction data because, right, construction changes the traffic flow. We can't do a comparison there, but before the build to after. This is just, this chart back down here is a bulk data analysis. This includes all complete streets projects that we've done recently compared to that 2015 data benchmark. So you can see, total crashes, both, at least with citywide, it's a little better. Okay, but especially in fatal crashes, severe injury, and injury crashes, we're seeing significant gains. Sorry, while there are increases in those categories, we actually saw decreases on complete streets projects. This is a little bit of a long-winded history lesson, but why this facility, particularly on Central Ave, why not another road? Right, Central Ave has always changed configuration throughout history to fit Baltimore and its people's needs. Where it was originally a canal and then got transformed into a sort of trucking roadway based transit model. And then here's kind of more a pre-rebuild photo. So right when we had this kind of configuration out, we had about 8,000 vehicles on the roadway in this area in particular per workday. And right in traffic engineering, we base kind of growth off of that. So we're saying, all right, there's 8,000 people and there's going to be more and more and more and more. As of recently from this year, we got a consultant to pull some counts for us. And right now we're looking at 6,000 vehicles. So that is, a rebound since COVID, but it's not quite even back to when we originally had this concrete configuration. And right, we also have a larger mix of pedestrians and bikers in here, which leads us to the present configuration, right? We've added some complete streets treatments. This helps facilitate that multimodal transit. It helps add safety, especially to, what we would consider overcapacity road. And then, some other bits of data that we have here is in our counts that we recently got, that can be anywhere between 14 and 33% of the total traffic volume on the roadway, or peds and bikes. And right, we also just are seeing increased alternate ridership here, whether it's, rental scooters, rental bikes, or the harbor connector. So here's some of that data here. You can see, I guess it's a little hard at this scale, but the harbor connector between Locust Point and the Maritime Park, right, has almost doubled its ridership in the last 2 years. And then we are, having record-breaking months with scooter ridership, and that's for the history of the program. But also just, in general, we are seeing very high levels compared to when that program was initially launched. And then taking a broader scope out of Central Avenue, right, this also connects into the bike master plan and the micromobility network. So it'll provide Harbor Point access all the way up to Monument Street, which is an east-west facility, which also hopefully will connect very soon, probably 2026 is what we're looking at, is the Washington facility, which can take you all the way up to almost the county line on Hartford Road. So theoretically, right, it would be possible to, in a separated facility, micromobility facility, go from down Hartford Road all the way to Harbor Point once these facilities are built. All right, now we're going to look at the current conditions of the unimproved part of the roadway. So just looking at kind of what's existing out there already. So towards the south end, which is where we are now, right, you generally have 4 transit lanes, and then you can, I think generally there's a turn lane here in this section. So that's that middle section. And then you have what we call classic bike lane. So right, it's an unprotected facility here along with the parking. Going north, past Lombard Street, you have the median. Sometimes that turns into a turn lane. Again, 4 travel lanes, not necessarily a classic bike lane, but you have what's called a sharrow. So just some type of bike semblance or awareness that, hey, bikers on the road here. And then a parking lane. Just speaking quickly to the traffic analysis we're doing. So as part of this project, especially in this area, we are looking at traffic data to make sure that we assess our impacts to this area. And right, we're not putting anyone in danger by maybe overloading the roadway or something. So we did collect updated counts here. That's where that 6,000 number came from again. And we're, again, trying to concentrate. Why did we choose here? It's just where volumes are very high. There's a lot, the greater impact of congestion. And with that, we're doing a level of service analysis. So we're looking at how can we optimize our signal timings to make sure, again, we're not causing unintended consequences to that congestion. And then one thing we could also consider in our analysis is that we think it's feasible to one-way Lancaster, likely westbound, and that could actually improve, or in some semblance improve traffic congestion even before facility, so from baseline.
Did you say that again?
So if we, and this is, through a model and all, but if we one-way to Lancaster westbound, we could see a general improvement even from current day traffic congestion. Though that might be very small, right? You're talking about model and, proposed. All right, so now we're going to talk about the proposed design. So part of that is what's already existing on here. We're going to pretty much replicate this up and down the corridor. So 2 travel lanes, right, a median, and then where there's high volumes or there's congestion, we can add in a turn lane to both help with the movements, especially going on our east-west streets like Fleet and Alsania. And we got parking, and then we have the upgraded bike facility that we would consider a separate facility. One thing I would consider different from this facility, so this facility relied a lot on what were called flex posts to delineate or separate the bike lane. We would add the addition of what we call concrete pills. It's basically a precast concrete curb that's about 8 feet long and comes in sections, and we could place that along the lane to help increase protection, provide a more aesthetic look, and increase delineation.
There's like curb stops?
There's so a little wider, a little shorter, but yeah, generally kind of like curb stops. And I can throw one of those online too once we get to the Streets of Baltimore information. Awesome. So now I'm going to go over, here's the roll charts. Here's our preliminary design concept of what we're looking at to do, just starting with Dock Street on the bridge right behind us. So right now we have about 4 lanes and then the classic bike lanes. So we would add a little more barrier to the existing bike lanes. We'd add in, again, those concrete pills and then add the turn lanes in to this section and then still 2 straight right-of-ways. And then that would bring you to Lancaster. And right now, again, this is just the concept of, okay, if we implemented this, but we could look at one-way in Lancaster if we needed to. So going up from Lancaster, again, this is a typical kind of configuration here. Maybe the one thing to note is that we have a 2-lane northbound, the turn lane, 1 lane southbound, and then again, bike facility with some additional parking near the Whole Foods. Then as you go Alsania to Fleet, again, that typical extension continued. Where we have space, we're including parking to kind of try to maintain that. And then also, there's a trucking area along this building, so we can't put anything permanent there, but we can just denote that, hey, this is part of the bike lane and there will be some cross traffic here. And then that brings us to the current existing facility. This is jumping over what's already existing. So we're picking up near Lombard, or theoretically from Lombard, it's really closer to Baltimore Street. So then, this is the continued cross section onto Fayette. We have some spaces for corrals, so that could be like scooter corrals, bike parking, etc. We can look at adding, as we go to Fayette to Orleans, again, this is just typical cross section. Keep parking where it's feasible. We add daylighting in, so yeah, so at that intersection, you should be able to have better visibility on your turns and all. And then going Orleans to McElderry Street, again, pretty typical cross section. And then finally ending at Monument Street. So again, carrying that cross section all the way in, hooking into the existing facility at Monument Street. So then we'll go into timelines. So again, this is the first meeting of 2. We will then have one January 22nd at Dunbar High. We should finish design either late winter, early spring, and then look at installation towards the end of fall 2026 or spring 2027. We'll have questions and comments real quick, so hold on. Before we open the open forum for questions and comments, just some housekeeping, So if you have questions that come up later, you can always reach out to DOT engagement at baltimorecity.gov and then put Central Ave Extension as the subject line, and then that will make its way to me. You can also visit the Streets of Baltimore page, which is linked here in this presentation. And then if you want to drop a question or comment in there, that goes directly to me. And then just in general, since we are touching, businesses and other places, if you are a business here today and you need help with the loading zone request or something, there's a link here in this slide, and I can put that on the Streets of Baltimore page. Okay, I'll open up for question, comment.
Take the mic.
Okay, you'll take the mic to people. So
You raise your hand, please.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll like wait till people like kind of a bit of a dialogue. My initial thought is I'm very supportive of this. I've used that facility before, and it's one of the highest quality, one of the more comfortable facilities in the city. I do think two things that could improve it. One of which you're working on is connecting it to more of the city and to existing facilities like on Union Street. One question or concern that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of or as much investment going into Central Ave as possible with new businesses and destinations and housing there. And so I'm curious if there's any kind of coordination with investing to bring people there or to you know bring people from elsewhere in the city or to more like housing. So that's my it's kind of just my official.
yeah.
I feel like hi, I'm JP from the DOT liaison for districts 5, 10, and 12. I feel like initially my thought would be we're expanding use of the green route circulator, the free bus, the bus that we do, is Baltimore City DOT, to encourage people to come to the area and hopefully patronize this business. But I'm not a business person.
Yeah. So I guess I can answer that from the project management side is, yes, that would be ideal to kind of partner this with a lot. And there is housing and I think mostly housing under construction, right? Especially towards that Monument Street. So some of what we're building is changed from even previous plans to help incorporate that. But overall, right, I'm not necessarily going with DHCD to plan this all the way out. We are looking at, existing conditions and maybe what's a little bit projected, but right, we are upgrading the existing facility and I mostly manage with everything from curb to curb. So yeah. And just to be clear, right, this is a traffic project. Our main thing is, right, everything on the asphalt is what we deal with. And then we partner with other agencies, whether it be in Baltimore City government or DOT to do, right, your curb cuts, your sidewalks, or anything more that's like solid concrete, right? We might have to reach out to another section to do.
We got a question online.
Okay, let's get this person then online.
Hi, guys. I don't have a specific question per se. I just want to log, I guess, a comment for the minutes. I'm representing BD Development Group, the developer part of current tenants that are over there with T Row, Stanley is the largest. And I guess I'd just like to say that we've had a couple of meetings with folks at DOT in the room here. But we're generally not in favor of the plan. We find that originally Central Avenue, the redevelopment of Central Avenue was sort of separated 12 or 13 years ago with the intention of rehabilitating the roadway in order for it to be a substitute or an alternate route for Preston Street. The EDA what was happening there. And that was one of the reasons that the bridge was built so wide, because the mayor specifically required us to build a bridge that wide in order to meet street of the set width. So as if you traverse this area during the day, you probably notice sometimes that the traffic is become a little bit excessive lately once T Road moved in, and we're often getting a lot of backups in the early morning rush or in the evening as people are trying to get in and out of here. And there's a number of backups that occur way down once you get to the area where the road sort of narrows on lane section. Creates a kind of a mess. You have people blocking themselves. But so I think like overall our thought process and opinion has been that we certainly believe in multimodality and that the existing lane configuration has bike lanes in it, and we were part of that process to get them put there. I think we believe that the throughput with the 4 lanes, we total 4 lanes, 2 in either direction, is what's appropriate for this particular artery in the city, and that any sort of protected bike lanes that would occur would want to occur on a road like Carroll Street, for example, that has less sort of heavy traffic. So it allows you to bike on both streets, and you can connect them all the way sort of up and down and gets everybody pretty much to the same location, but it allows us to try to focus more heavy traffic coming across this bridge and sort of getting out of here, and pulls that traffic off of like the smaller arterial roads that are here. It kind of tries to keep it. Because what you're seeing is that people are bailing off the street. It's such a mess. Getting enough. I just want to make sure that's been a log to the law. So,
Quick outline.
Sure. Duly noted, and right, and we can post this online so it's recorded and all too. So appreciate it.
If you could unmute yourself to ask what's going on.
Hi. Sorry, are you? Which one of us, or is there?
Two Tims.
Tim C.
Tim
Okay.
C.
So my question was, I have two questions. One, what percentage of the bike lane as proposed can be protected with concrete barriers? Because as a cyclist, that's very important to my safety. And then what width are you targeting for the bike lanes?
So I don't have a percentage breakdown, and also that rate changes kind of as we go through different sections of Central. Our target rate is to provide, again, like these precast concrete curbs or curb-like objects for as much of the lane we can, but right, there's like one bus stop that we have to be considerate of. So right, that will be a large green paint with bus bike only written in it. And then also, again, there's loading zones that are pre-existing to the extension of this project that we have to obviously respect and provide access to. So in general, right, we are very cognizant of providing protection where it's appropriate to provide, the most quality access and safety. And then what was the second part of that question again?
What width will the bike lanes be?
Okay, what width? I would have to wait for our contractor to confirm those finally. And yeah, I just can't think off the top of my head without looking at the existing designs what that would be.
Yeah. And then for that bus stop, did you look at all into doing a floating bus stop?
Okay, and sorry, I have not been repeating the question, so okay, you guys can hear it. All right. For the floating or option of floating bus stop, I don't think we're considering it for this project. We have a few others, right, where that is pretty critical to the design. This right now we aren't considering for that level of facility, and it's also only I think one bus line that is a local two bus lines.
Are you talking about the Central Avenue, Fayette Street?
I believe not on Fayette Street though.
Like right before Fayette?
Yeah, I think so.
So the city included city.
Okay, so there are two city links on there. Okay. That might, right, we can note it down, and then might have to be something that's considered for later. I just think with what we've scoped out for this project, our priority is the connection of general good level of safety, like that would be a good addition that could increase it even more, but we want to have an adequate facility that can still extend north to south into mine industry. So we're prioritizing those things first.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's get him and then we'll go back to.
So first, let me say I'm a road biker. I ride 20, 30 miles a week outside the city. I live across the street from the Liberty Building. My condo faces this street. And since T-Road's been in, that traffic backs up all the way to the parking lot currently. And Harbor Point is not done developing. And so I don't know how it's going to handle the traffic in the future. It can't handle it now. And it's going to force all that traffic through Caroline Street and into Fells Point. That's what's going to happen. If it's not already happening. But you can see it back up. Come here at 4:30 through 5:30 and watch the line. They can't get in quick enough. Aside from that, you've got businesses along. If you sit in any of those businesses along Central Avenue, you can watch all day. If you see one biker, I'll give you $10 for every bike that you see. Now, the weekends that may change. But during the week, there's no bike traffic here right now. So I don't understand why you would impact the flow of traffic or a bike traffic, this community that's not here right now. So anyway, to me, this concept just needs a lot of work to go forward.
We have a question online and then this person.
Okay. Yeah, and likewise noted, right? We were trying to make sure we're assessing our impacts appropriately we hired a consultant to do the traffic study. We did that with video recording, so someone actually recorded that. I even audited the counts, I can come out here again. I did those audits at noon, so we can go see, I can come out and see that again at a more peak hour time. Just to confirm, but we did audit those. Yeah, a lot of Whole Foods traffic. Yes. So, I can kind of just make sure that those are still verified. Yeah. Okay, we can, note that, and I'll talk with our consultants and all. Appreciate it.
We have an online question and then.
All right, this question is from Dan online. He says, I'm online, so not sure how to make a comment. I'll leave it here. Matthew spoke the other day, and as I stated in my email to Jacob, I'm in support of this project, but since we know that hard barriers are safer, long lasting, and look better, please upgrade the middle section of Central Ave.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan, and thank you for dropping that in the comments too. I am looking into that as part of maybe a different phasing or side scope, but our primary objectives, is the connectivity and building out the facility. Anything with the center, we will get quantity estimates for that, so we can see if we can kind of fit it as a tail item in the budget. But overall, our main concern is just building it north to south and getting the project completed to then fit into a wider network.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Stephen. I live nearby, a daily commuter for both work errands, everything in between by bicycle. I cross Central Avenue every day. I really appreciate the current structure of the facility that we built a couple of years ago. It makes the street substantially safer. I'm fully in support of the extension both north and south. To rebut some of the comments earlier, I think this is a great opportunity to give more people the chance to get around in a way other than by car. I personally do not use this section of Central Avenue or the section north of current implementation because it is less safe. I use a hodgepodge of routes to connect to other northbound routes. It's on the Gettysburg Trail, which really is not great. Connecting Central Avenue to Monument Street would be a huge improvement in the continuity of the bike infrastructure, the safety of the street as a whole, and give more people an opportunity to participate in that. So I would hope that our development uses this as an opportunity to encourage employees and tenants to consider other modes of transportation besides that. And then one question for you, Matt. What are the variables in terms of funding and timeline that cause you to give that range fall 26 to spring 27? What's the give and take with other projects?
Yeah, so first of all, comment noted, in recording. What determines the budget and timeline? So Great Central Ave has a specific line item in the budget, so we can only spend that much money on it within, we can kind of sometimes move the fiscal years around, but right, like, hey, spend that now. That's the priority of our department or my section right now is to build this facility. It's a high priority project. And then here's the dedicated line item funding for that. And right, that can depend on project just generally with DOT and scale, but if you do see projects really similar to this, right, they might have grant funding or some, again, line item, which then dictates how much we can spend. Yes.
Hi, my name is Doug Schmidt. I'm with Workshop Development. We're one of the local developers and we own and manage a number of properties for reasons. I've got some questions and comments. One question I know, there was a question of how many bikes are out there. My window looks out Central Avenue, and I would, unless I'm asleep half the day, 14% of 6,000 cars is 840, and 33% is 1,980. There's no way I can see this close. So I think I'd love to see your report. I really question this. The big challenge is that as owners, we want bike and car and folks coming here, whatever they can. It's essential to our business. We're very sensitive because we have tenants that come in many ways. But Central Avenue, by its nature, cannot be a safe road. I have pictures here which I'll give you. There's over 40 curb cuts, there's parking garages, there's trash pickups, there's loading from the hotel, and someone said something about the median. I'll show you pictures of tractor trailers blocking the one drive lane and the median because there are restaurants above. So the intent, as we heard, was that Central Avenue was designed to be the major thoroughfare from 83 into Harbor East for auto traffic. And at the very last minute, it switched up and the road was under construction to add this bike lane. Our contention is that Caroline Street is a safe place to put bike lanes. And if you look at the new bike lanes that have installed Caroline, they're at actual concrete curves. It's designed with the traffic. It wasn't an afterthought. There's essentially no industrial or service road there. So I know you're looking at a project extending the bike lanes. Our very strong contention is that the experiment on Central was a failure. Now, for folks that ride their bike, I can certainly understand that it's better than it was there before, but Complete Streets is not just about bikers. Others is not. So that is the study that we're asking for, and that we're consistent. Curb stops really cannot be put. You cannot put concrete there because as you go and look at all of the traffic, you look at the trash trucks, you look at other issues there. People do have to move through those bike lanes to be able to. We have a bakery here, we have a scrap dealer up the street. And what I've seen most recently is that traffic has increased with more tenants coming here. Is that people are now driving bike lane when their traffic is too intense to get to it. So really, it is not a safe condition. I'd also love to see your data about safety. So I think what we contend is let's restore Central Avenue to how it was designed, how these businesses and developments were done originally, and do a really nice, safe, like Caroline Street, which is the same connection, and not an area with huge amounts of truck traffic. So that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll take a look at it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe real quick. So again, thank you for the comment. Maybe quick clarification on the counts. So right, there are different percentages of bikers and pedestrians. Yes, we saw mostly pedestrian movement. I think that's the gentleman comment. The Whole Foods rush is very big. On the day that Arkansas, that's when I went out there, the day Arkansas saw, again, very heavy ped movement is really what we're seeing out of all the modes. And there are still, again, some bike and scooter out there. I think you said, what, 1,400 count. So yeah, but yes, predominantly heavy ped. And yeah, just I guess like one thing I found interesting about the data is, yeah, we had like heavier ped movement across. This is, Lancaster, not central, but heavier ped movement across Lancaster than even like car vehicle traffic. So yeah, I'm aware that there's different modes. The pedestrian is more heavy, and then it's also heavy right in certain directions during certain times.
But how does that justify a road diet? You're saying there's a lot of.
Sorry, Mike, please.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for taking more. So my question would be then, so I don't think that's really the issue. I was talking about because we certainly get involved with the side and the new and water and why we need. I think what we're talking about is strictly automobile traffic. So that's why. And maybe the data is broken out to see bikes and scooters reaction. Because the goal is it's not a car versus bike, it's what's the optimal way to safely get people here. And if Caroline is better than Central, then that should be.
Thank you. Do you want to respond, or you good? Comment. Oh, okay. Sorry, I just don't want to be rude, and like if you had a dying question, and if we can, you can always email us too. So awesome, appreciate it. Was there online or full crowd or okay?
Thanks. So a couple statistics. One, about half of Baltimoreans, on average, every year, half of Baltimoreans do not own cars. We dedicate approximately 98% of our road surfaces to the movement and storage of automobiles, which means that we are telling half of the population, here's 98% of one of our most important resources, and the other half fight over scraps. This is unacceptable, and improving our roadways for everybody is important for the safety of everybody. So when we talk about improvement or increases in pedestrians on sidewalks, that is a byproduct of having roads that are safer and more pleasant to walk on. Having a protected bike lane is a buffer between speeding cars and the sidewalk. It is a way that you increase that. Also, the least safe design for a road in a city, two-lane each direction road. They have considerably higher speeds, considerably higher, more dangerous accidents because of something called jockeying, which is where people speed in and out and cut in between lanes. So while I understand the importance to move cars, when you talk about the most efficient way to move people, it is not by single occupancy cars. It never will be. So please stop making that argument.
Hello. So I biked here, and obviously this section that we have already installed is great. Love it. Currently, I actually don't use it that much because it doesn't offer much connectivity. Having the connection to Monument Street and actually extending this would be extremely vital, and it would take me, whenever I go north in the city, I would take Central all the way up to Monument, have a much more pleasant ride and safer ride than what I currently do, which is go down basically Bank Street and then over through Little Italy. I live in Upper Palace, so right around here. And then I go up President Street where people are very often speeding, very quick. There's a lot of very dangerous parts where I'm head on a swivel waiting for people to potentially turn into me across the bike lane when there's green lights. So extending this extremely safe infrastructure that we already have is something I support greatly. And I don't think moving
and starting a whole new project over on Caroline Street makes any sense because we already have this infrastructure here now. And there's a lot of businesses along Central Avenue that people want to access by bike. So I don't think shifting our whole focus and doing the complete redesign and just delaying by shifting the project over to Caroline Street is a good approach. And also regarding like comments about how many people are actually biking out there now, I would use this facility that we currently have already invested in a lot more if it was more connected. And we also don't determine whether or not we're going to build a bridge by how many people swim across the river. Right now, Central Avenue, north of Baltimore Street, is not safe to ride on, so no one rides on it.
Hi, so I missed the actual presentation, but based on the feedback from that side of the room, it sounds like the success of this project may depend on diverting car traffic to other modes. So can you come up with a plan for making that happen?
So not entirely sure, right, that statement is accurate based on what we're seeing from the consultant. So yeah, right, like there are things we can do to Lancaster to improve the general situation here as a baseline. But right, other than that, we do assess the impacts. We see what is acceptable for an urban environment in terms of what we call level of service. So it wouldn't be like, okay, now all these people have to, besides again, one way in Lancaster, if we went forward with that, there would be no other modifications or, forcing people to go some other way. And I guess like, right, with the traffic, right, there is again also increased ridership in our other modes, and especially right, the Harbor Connector doubled its rider or near doubled correction. So right, we have to keep an eye on those things too, along with level of service analysis. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the project. I live right in Central and start walking to connection with circulator on one. Since the big village a multimodal project, is there any consideration for trying to get them to switch the circulator to the central now that this program is being done? Because the most recent one that started this week is full. They go all around downtown. They have up and shut. I don't know why they're doing this diversion. Now it takes 30 minutes to get to downtown. And then now all around service to the barbecues and those ones that cut off. So is there any consideration for trying to increase transit ridership or send some new circulators down central with this program?
So the group that runs their circulators is it's really our active transit planning department, and we have like more transportation planning. That being said, so right, we aren't working with them to change the route of the circulator. They mostly do that. They have a person dedicated to that. That being said, right, they did just change the route. And right, they are looking for feedback on that. I'm trying to think of what the best resources to connect. How could you give comment? There should be. Do you have online access and stuff? Were you able to see the online material for that? No.
So, I mean, it's more point of health, like everyone else said.
Yeah.
Because if you build it multimodal, then you gotta have something.
Yeah. Right. I guess my thing is I'm not the bus planner, and they redid the route. I can give that comment to them, and it's going to be reported for this meeting, so I can definitely transfer that along and say, hey, look, there's someone who wants access via a circular route here. What can you make? What can you do to make that happen? What are the outlooks for that? So I can always get that on. Yeah. Streets of Baltimore. Okay. Just recommendation from our community liaison, but if you can get to the Streets of Baltimore page for this project, please leave that as a question or comment so it can be recorded in.
I'll find you after the meeting too, and I'll give you my email that can connect you to those people. Questions? Do we have questions?
Not a question, but a comment. I also am a bicyclist, and it's my primary transportation around Baltimore City. I think you guys really just have a numbers problem. You know, it's the volume of cars trying to leave a 0 point, trying to go north. That is going to be jammed up, no matter whether you have 2 lanes there. Then you also mentioned that people block the box. So, you know, that's going to happen no matter what, too. So that's not going to help. We should have signals that ticket people for blocking the box. I don't know if DOT can do that. But, you know, the tractor trailers, the garage outlets, they're all going to be there. But you just created hundreds of dwellings at one location. Most of the people are going to work at a similar time. It's a volume problem. You know, so can't blame them on the bike lane.
Final questions and comments.
So I ride an electric cargo bike in the city, and I really appreciate this effort to diet and extend the bike lane on Central. I want to echo what others have said before me a little bit. It is easy to dismiss low numbers when, like, why build a swimming pool? Nobody swims there on this open ground. That's not a valid reason to say no one should do this. There are multiple surveys out there saying if people felt safe, that they would feel like that they would bike around the city, but right now they don't have the option. And this is about providing people the option. As was said before, about 98% of money and services go towards cars, and this is about helping to make our cities a little more European, a little more. We go over there, we vacation, we have a great time. They're pleasant, they're beautiful, they're prosperous cities. We come back and we don't believe we can be like that. But this is there's so much involved in that: safety, social justice, financial justice. So I really appreciate this, and honestly, I urge anything to be done that can get this project done quicker. I think we kowtow to vetoes unnecessarily. Like, there's too much justice at stake here. Thank you.
Hello. I also directed there primarily bike, but I wanted to put some comment on the pedestrian side. I think most of that was already built. The road was in construction for a long time. Now sidewalks are relatively nice. There's new programs in place and there's crosswalks. Even all the way down here and up to, I don't know if it's all the way to Arlington Street, but it's close to the forward. So I don't know why it was basically why it was the side, but there is already easy pedestrian trails through. So it's more of that.
All right, folks. Final comments, questions. We have someone who knows a lot about engineering here. Whenever I have an engineer, so when I ask him lots of really good engineering questions.
Appreciate it, Jakey.
Hey, one more thing. I did have a question about up on Caroline Street, the new development, the builds that they use. I wasn't sure if those were the ones that you guys were considering. They did on that one single block. They're like 3 wide, like 8 feet long in a section. And then follow up with that.
Yeah, I guess in general, right, like we on the website can post the pills that we're talking about. They're not quite like a cast curb protection as seen on the Perkins Homes development section of Caroline. They're a little thinner. They're more, I don't know exactly how tall those are, but it is, going to be, I think, 4 to 6 inches tall. I'm trying to remember engineering specs from memory. So not the exact same, but intended to provide at least a similar level of protection, and not quite also as square. So there is more of like a chamfered to it. That's a more gentle curve up.
I think there's a follow-up.
So while I appreciate their willingness to redesign the street there when they're building Perkins, especially because the cyclists killed there last summer, the redesign of that also entailed redesigning the water systems, the sewers, or not sewer systems, sorry, the stormwater systems, and that was a much more involved project than we're talking about doing here. And that's the problem with trying to shift something like this over to Caroline. While it sounds like it's a good idea to recreate what is being done there, we don't have the width on many blocks. You're going to have the same problem with like there's a garage, a gas station there. We don't have the money to relocate the stormwater systems like was done further up to provide an actual protected hardscape bike lane like we can do here for a fraction of the price. So I think that we need to recognize that we can't simply shift this project over to the next street and say, oh yeah, no problem, I'm going to be able to do it, because we might be able to get one block done for the cost to do the rest of this project.
All right, I'm going to call this the last comment.
Sorry, I remember the primary reason I made the comment is that businesses historically are anxious about losing car lanes. It's something that comes up again and again. However, after these changes are made, they find that they get more foot traffic. They find that they get more traffic from cyclists. The reality is that the large majority of cars traveling on this road don't go from this road or stop on this road as a destination. They are just going right through. That's just the nature of car traffic in this day and age. And so this project will likely benefit the businesses along Central, and every loading dock and whatnot can be done with more sustainable more sustainable transportation. Most of you probably haven't heard of like cargo e-bikes or bike trailers, but it's a thing. Europe does it. It's possible here. We can't just keep the status quo of all these deaths on our roads and treat it like it's unavoidable cost of civilization, because it's not. We choose these car deaths in our city and on our roads if we choose not to make these safety investments. And I appreciate you, BCDOT. Thank you.
All right, folks.
Another comment. I designed pedestrian bike structure, and you mentioned that. I don't know what questions you would ask me. I just wondered. You said I would have some perspective, but I don't know.
Me?
Or oh wait, I'm sorry. I thought you. I'm sorry if I'm just like. Okay. Yeah.
I'll connect with you after the meeting.
I really thought. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. So being part of this, so thank you so much everyone for coming, for making your voices heard, for lodging your questions, complaints, concerns. It's so important. Thank you for engaging in this dialogue. Thank you so much for having us here at your beautiful school. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Therese Bellman, who's community school coordinator here. And she has a comment.
Yes. Hi guys, thank you guys for coming. So in lieu of you guys being bikers, we did have a big donation to us from the Princeton Sporting Goods Store. If you guys remember that off of Falls Road, they closed down and gave us a lot of their sporting goods. So if you guys need some micro shorts with pads in the middle, we do have a table full of micro shorts with pads in the middle. So please grab and go, so you guys can be safe and comfy.
Thank you so much. We also have some free goodies. We have ice scrapers. We might have some ornaments, not denominational ornaments around, and some other goodies, slab bracelets. If you have not filled out the survey, we did a bad job, a really good job. We want to hear about it. So please fill it out with the QR code. We have some spoke copies as well. We appreciate your input and thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Any final words? No, I think you got them wonderfully. Oh, cool. Nice. Thank you. All right, let's break this thing down. Smoke a cigarette. Oh, I wish I smoked still. Yeah. Hey, how are you doing? Good. How are you? You good? Oh yeah, I got stuff.